Welcome to Conversation, a platform where life topics are discussed. So when it comes to, sometimes arguments can be quite, the tension can be high, when it comes to arguments. And I think for me, the first thing I want to do is just shut myself in my room, lock the door, and just be on my own. Even if it's because I'm not confrontational. I don't like, I always want things to flow. But there are times when you have to have those crucial conversations and they can be quite tensed. And I think it depends. For me, what works for me is let me be on my own first. Let me process. Sometimes you just want to process what happened, why you said what you said, what you shouldn't have said. You know, maybe that's an introvert's own pattern. Um, I know that for my husband, sometimes he just wants to, okay, it depends on how tense the situation is. Sometimes you just want to, oh yeah, let's go and watch football, let's go and watch a movie, let's go out, let's take a walk. And sometimes I think we just both want to process. So it depends on the situation. Other to ease the tension in some ways we have to be creative. Just look for general ways to just, what works for each person, I guess.
I don't like arguments. I don't like argument. I prefer, one of the things I encourage couples about is humility and submitting one to another. Okay. The moment it becomes even an argument, it affects me. Like, so I prefer a different approach to it. So maybe we'll call it conversations, and I'm happy we're having this series as conversations. I prefer that. But the moment is like you're arguing, it's beyond. For instance, that has shifted from the matter to the attitude. So you now realize that because of that, the matter will linger on, because it's not the matter you're not dealing with, it's the attitude. But when those things happen like that, and then we resolve, okay, as he said, if you see yourself as a team, you want it to work. And I think that's one area we need to encourage people. Because sometimes when people, there's like, they fight like Russia and Ukraine. Like somebody has to die, somebody has to leave. And that's when the thing becomes so toxic. But the question is, do you want the relationship to thrive? Do you want the marriage to work? Then you work towards that improvement and getting better. If that vision is not there, the arguments will always be toxic and it will lead to some decay. So I think we need to talk about the vision first, which is still the foundation thing we mentioned earlier, that, oh, this is my wife, this is my husband. Okay, I respect my wife, I honor my husband. So whatever happens, even when arguments come up, I should remember that, no, this is a sacred institution. I want this to work. I want God's blessings to abound here. That must always be there. If it's not there, bottles will fly. Knives might move. How can people deal with childhood traumas? That's a huge one, because almost everybody, every one of us have one or two things to deal with that has to do with childhood. The challenge is it's the husband or wife that feels the brunt of those things. So, and I want to emphasize humility in the sense that when those things begin to show up, for instance, when you see a man that gets overly angry, or a woman that is always defensive, or an attitude, most of those things are coming from childhood experiences. So when those things begin to show up, somebody would begin to point you to them. If you are not humble, you will not accept. And when you don't accept, there won't be changes. If there are no changes, you will damage the relationship. So I think generally we should assume a posture of humility in our relationships. I shared something some years ago. I think I learned that from Andy Stanley. if you have a bottle of water, right? Bottle of water, and then you smash the bottle. What comes out of the bottle of water is water. Now, there's a smashing, right? But water comes out. So most of the time in relationships, when people experience that smash, they focus on, oh, you smash me, you smash me. But they forget that when you are smashed, what came out was what? Water. Smashing is one thing, but what came out of you is another thing. That thing that came out is in there. One smashing will bring it out one way or the other. Either the police will bring it out, or your doctor, or your pastor, or your spouse. Somebody will smash you somewhere, and then so when you notice what is coming out of you as a person, that why is it that when they correct me, I'm always abusing everybody? Why is it that when they say this, I'm always arguing? What is coming out? If water is coming out of the bottle, that means it's not the person that smashed you that put water in the bottle. The water had been there. Maybe they help you to even bring it out. Like Joseph said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So when you notice something coming out of you under pressure, an attitude, you don't want to listen, you shut down, or you say toxic things. Why is this water coming out? Where did I get this water from, or this content from? That helps you to attend to those things. But the challenge most people have is they consider on this. But some people even say it is the smashing that created the water, and they now put all the blame on the smasher. When I say smashing, I don't mean physical abuse. I mean pressure of relationships. Sometimes when things happen and you're under pressure and somebody has to correct you or instruct you or even or inspire you, whichever one, whatever comes out of you under pressure shows what is inside. Now, when you notice that what is coming out is not too good, then don't look too much on the pressure. Maybe you should appreciate the pressure, but work on changing or dealing with, why is this coming out of me? If that bottle had groundnut and you put pressure on it, it is groundnut that will come out of it. So that means the pressure is not the problem, it is the content. When we are under pressure, we should, the ideal situation, as God helps us to grow, is to exude honor, beauty, decorum, and then that's the ideal situation. We're growing.
A lot of people need to, it may not even be something that they are aware of. Sometimes they forget, they don't even think that they went through trauma. So it's something that we just need the awareness of it, that okay, why am I behaving this way? And sometimes it's not even pressure, it's from the other party, it's just an expression, a behavior. I know some, it could go for both male or female, um married and into pornography, for instance. And they later on realized that this thing came from an abuse, maybe even for the men, being abused by a house help, for instance, or being exposed to something when they were young. And they don't realize that it's trauma. But sometimes they don't realize that that's what's causing the porn or masturbation or whatever, even in marriage. So I guess people just need to, okay, ask couples, why do I do what I do? Why am I doing this? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I um saying this? Especially if it is a trend in their lives. So it's a question we all need to pose on ourselves. Why do I act the way I do? Why do I respond this way? And then those questions will lead to finding out, or with the help of a counselor, um, unraveling, unearthing things that may have gone wrong in the past or gone on in the past. Sometimes they have been repressed for so long and they don't even realize that this is what happened. So it's just that awareness and the vulnerability, the sincerity to ask ourselves those questions would really help in dealing with such trauma.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this trauma thing is, I think we should dedicate a whole episode to it again, because when I mentioned pressure earlier, I just remember that beyond even your spouse or life itself is pressure. So when there's pressure, maybe what comes out of you is a sign of who you, what you what is inside you, and that is the first awareness. The question is, some people now, okay, I'm like this. This happens to me. I get angry, sexual perversion of any kind. Now the question is, how do you deal with that? I think, well, prayer is important. Okay, I have to say that. Pray, ask God to help you. Don't assume that you can just live your life with it, because you will damage other people. Pray about it, and then it's important we seek professional help if possible. Okay, you can do it online. You can search for a therapist. And then if you can pay money for your tooth or teeth or your cars, there's nothing wrong with you paying somebody some money to help your life get better. Because we need to understand that people don't like those things. You could be a therapist from another country or in your locality. Engage them, express yourself to them, pay them good money if possible. Because the better you are, the better your marriage, your children, and then be hungry, be hungry enough to find a way out, because we don't always know the way out, but when there is a will, you just find that you start locating the way out. And I realize that those who have been able to find their way out of some of those things, they now become helpers of others. But we must avoid allowing it to remain an excuse for why my life is like that. It's unfair on humanity to remain like that.
Um, I just realized that sometimes even before marriage, these things, are already there in us. How we deal, even with our children or with children, how children deal with conflict. To you, that would impact on how they deal with conflict or issues even when they get married. This also goes for singles. So we all go through things that get us upset. But how do you handle it? If we can start, helping one another, even with those of us parents with their children. Sometimes children throw tantrums. They hide out because of issues. They don't know how to confront issues properly, and this would um, also, of course, be magnified when they're married or when they grow up. So it's important that we deal with start just where it doesn't have to be just married couples. If you're single, ask yourself, how do I deal with conflict? How do I deal with issues with my friend? When we have to argue, with children as well, and that would help even with marriage.
Hope you enjoyed yourself today. So much to talk about childhood trauma and the things that we all grew up with. And many times, and I want to say this for singles especially, as you prepare to get married, it's fantastic if you can attend to those things. When the more whole we are, the better we're a blessing to people that we relate with, generally, but more especially to our spouses. We must desire to always be better. That desire will always be honored by God. Don't forget to watch this episode again and again and again, and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and tell friends and everyone. See you next episode. Bye.